Yes, I assumed that everything I had done was moving the process along and we were getting closer to finding my perpetrator, including taking that DNA evidence that was in the rape kit to help find my perpetrator. I had no idea that that was not the case.
Welcome back, and that, of course, Natasha's story, but it's hardly a unique one. This hour we are talking about the massive backlog of unprocessed rape kits. Now, it's a problem not just in our region, but arguably it's even worse when you get outside the tri-state area. Now, the consequence of this reality of hundreds of thousands of unprocessed rape kits means that rapists roam free while rape victims never get the day in court that they deserve. Now, you just heard from Natasha Alexenko of Long Island, who was raped at gunpoint as a college student some 20 years ago in her Manhattan apartment building. Now, after the rape occurred, Natasha, she was taken to a hospital to have her body searched for the attacker's DNA. It is a process known as a rape kit test. Now, for more on the process of collecting evidence for a kit, here again, Kim Lengel. And Kim, as you explained to me, this isn't a simple swab test. This is a very invasive thing, and for a lot of the victims, it's like reliving the attack again.
Yes, and it's also pure science. Rape kits can help identify a rapist by matching DNA profiles obtained from the victim's body to profiles already in the FBI's national database. These kits can corroborate a victim's version of events or exonerate innocent suspects. Rape kits should be sent immediately to forensic labs where technicians can test the DNA and upload the data to the FBI databank known as CODIS, or the Combined DNA Indexing System. Once in that system, law enforcement officials could then check that DNA against all the DNA taken from felons, which is stored in CODIS. A match could potentially lead them right to a rapist's doorstep. But as we're about to show you, that's not what usually happens. Instead, there are hundreds of thousands of untested rape kits in the country. When a rape victim walks into a hospital, she's usually scared, confused, and in tremendous physical pain. She's forced to wait in an ER lobby until an exam room opens up. The process for collecting evidence for a rape kit can last several hours and be emotionally devastating for the victim.
We have the polylight.
For trained sexual assault nurse examiners like Judy Specht, the job can also be difficult. In addition to doing a thorough physical exam, the nurses also have to find out what happened.
Sometimes they're a little reluctant to tell you that it started out as consensual because they feel that they may not be believed because that's part of it. They feel it was their fault. If they initiated the sexual contact or participated in any of the contact, they're frightened that they will not be believed, or they're frightened that you'll think that it was their fault even more.
The rape kit allows medical examiners to collect valuable DNA or forensic evidence that may have been left behind by the attacker. That includes every piece of clothing the victim was wearing. It all gets bagged separately.
I would probably need 8 paper bags just for your clothing, 2 shirts, underwear, bra, necklace, shoes, stockings, everything that you're wearing.
They take swabs of any area the perpetrator has touched, has put their sexual organs in, so whether it's the mouth, whether it's vaginal, and etc. That's followed up with medications, antivirals, antibacterials, as a way of making certain we do what we can to avoid any kind of sexually transmitted disease.
In this envelope, there's a cardboard box. There are 2 swabs in every package. The 2 swabs are always used together. If there are body fluids in the mouth, the place where they would collect most frequently is between the bottom lip and the teeth. So that's a place where we swab.
So you have oral swabs, trace evidence, what is that?
Can be anything. Trace evidence can be anything. It's hairs that fall off of your clothing. It can be sparkles from lotion that got on somebody. It can be almost anything.
A rape kit contains 13 envelopes, some for things as personal as only you and your doctor could imagine. There are bags and sheets, swabs, combs, and envelopes. Virtually every inch of the victim's body must be examined.
To know where you need to swab, why you need to swab it.
Nurses like Judy are trained to follow standardized procedures as they collect the evidence. That protocol is called the chain of custody, so the evidence can be used in court.
This is a custody form that shows you exactly, I came in, I opened it at this hour, closed it at this hour, and this is what I did with it when I was finished.
Police may already be at the hospital to interview the victim, in which case police would then take the kit back to the precinct, book it into evidence, and place it in a storage facility, just like these kits, which we acquired. But the reality is, once the kits go into storage, some never come out.
What happened with my kit is after the hospital took the DNA evidence, it was brought into police custody. And it sat in New York in particular, it was in the county clerk's office in their storage room. It sat there, untouched, nothing was done with it.
To process a rape kit means that it's sent to a lab. Some jurisdictions have private labs, others use public labs. Once it's there, the DNA is processed and is put through CODIS, the database that can assist in the identification of suspects. But for then 20-year-old Natasha, that didn't happen. Natasha's kit was one of about 200,000 kits that sat unprocessed for years.
It was almost like a re-victimization. Okay, so you go to the hospital, you go through all these things in order to help the investigation, and it's all for nothing.
The sexual assault nurse examiner we just met, Judy Specht, is part of a unique program intended just for victims of rape. That exam room you saw is located inside Suffolk County's Stony Brook Medical Center. It's one of just 3 in the county, and it's dedicated exclusively to the medical needs of rape victims. In most other hospitals, rape victims usually have to wait in emergency rooms, but at Stony Brook, they're ushered into that private exam room you just saw. Rich.
Now, you spent a lot of time with Natasha, and she not only relived the attack here and how this whole process can at times be convoluted, but she walked you through the process of collecting the DNA for the rape kit. And in many ways, she said, I think she called it a re-victimization. What did she mean?
Well, from the moment she walked into that emergency room, she felt like it was written all over her face, like everybody who sat there could see what happened to her. And it's especially traumatizing because if you imagine you're a victim of sexual assault, you're in physical pain, you're in emotional pain, and now you're standing before a nurse examiner in just a hospital gown. You're stripped of all your clothes because they need that for evidence. And now they have to swab and poke and prod all the areas that have just been attacked, and in many times it's painful emotionally and physically, and if the victim can't remember what happened, that's an especially important part of this investigation. The nurse examiners often ask them to close their eyes and try to remember what happened when the attacker bit her or kissed her, etc., and it can be very emotionally painful.
And it's courageous for these women to go through this, and then to see what we've uncovered here with how many of these kits after this whole process just sit on a shelf. It's just unbelievable.